A player accidentally kicked the football over the fence, and it landed right next to a boy with intellectual disabilities. The team captain told him to throw the ball back, but the boy misunderstood. Instead, he put the ball in his shopping cart and walked away happily. The captain turned to the coach and complained, but Coach Rod just smiled. He had already noticed how much this boy loved football. Giving him one wouldn't hurt. The boy's name was James. Every day, he pushed his shopping cart around town, collecting discarded but useful items people had thrown away, just to scrape by. But even so, some people still kept their distance from him. James, however, never lost his love for life. He was absolutely obsessed with football. Whenever he passed by the field, he would stop and watch for a long time. One day, he came to watch the game again. The players, looking for payback for what had happened before, locked him in the equipment shed and kept pounding on the door with a football to scare him. By the time Rod arrived, James was already curled up in the corner, trembling with fear. When he saw Rod, he became even more frightened. He didn't know what he had done wrong. Rod gently comforted him, while carefully cutting the tape from his hands and feet. Watching the boy run away in panic, Rod felt deeply ashamed.
Anybody got anything to say? Tell your folks practice is going to run late tomorrow.
The next day, he stopped James on the road and apologized to him on behalf of his players. James didn't speak. Instead, he cautiously handed the football back, but Rod didn't take it. He gave it to James as a gift instead. Then he invited James to join his team as an assistant, but James still didn't say a word. Maybe because of what the players had done before, he still couldn't fully trust this man. Still, every day he held his beloved football and watched from afar, outside the fence. He didn't dare get close. He didn't dare speak, and Rod noticed all of this, so he decided to try a different way of connecting with James.
Why don't you come on in? Got some hamburgers coming. Get your buggy, come on in. Really good burgers.
And so, lured by the promise of food, James was tricked into coming to the office. Since the day they met, James had never once said his name. Seeing how fascinated James was with the radio on the desk, Rod nicknamed him Radio, and generously gave him the radio as a gift. James seemed to feel Rod's sincerity and kindness, so he agreed to become the team's assistant. The next day, Rod introduced him to the players. James's main job was to manage the equipment, write down all the game dates, and carefully study Rod's plays. He trained with the players, and after practice, he would voluntarily pick up the balls. Even though he was sometimes still teased, he never complained once. Instead, he cheered on the players who picked on him. Game day soon arrived. Though the team lost a few games in a row, James's never-give-up attitude and optimistic spirit gradually began to infect every player. From then on, the team started achieving success after success. James didn't just lift the cloud hanging over the players. He brought light to everyone around him. But as the team's reputation grew, so did the criticism. Some parents thought Rod was using James to gain attention and sympathy. Rod never explained himself. Every day after practice, he still walked James home and took the initiative to ask James's mother about his condition. That's when he learned James didn't actually have an intellectual disability. His thinking was just a little slow. But as for the exact cause, even the doctors couldn't give a clear answer. His mother continued.
It's a good boy, Coach. He got himself a good heart. Most folks just don't take the time to see it is all.
Hearing this, Rod became even more certain of his choice. Soon, the next season began. Rod planned to take James along with the team, but the principal didn't want outsiders on the school bus, especially someone with a disability. If something happened, they'd be in even more trouble. With no other option, Rod had to cancel James's trip at the last minute. He kept apologizing, leaving James standing there, helpless and confused. In the end, he could only follow the game through live radio broadcasts, mimicking every move in the rain, as if he were fighting alongside his teammates. Sadly, the team lost that game. James was heartbroken. After the game, Rod came to find him. To make it up to James, he not only treated him to a big meal, but also allowed James to lead the players onto the field in the next game. But James got so excited that he accidentally yelled out the strategy they'd planned, giving the opposing team a chance to adjust their defense. To make things worse, the referee made a bad call during the game, and Rod, already frustrated, lost his temper. He argued with the ref on the field, but instead of getting the fair treatment he wanted, his team ended up penalized even more. By halftime, they were losing badly. Back in the locker room, the players were all gloomy. The captain, Johnny, was especially furious, complaining about why his teammates hadn't passed him the ball. Hearing this, James naively thought Johnny was just upset about not getting to touch the ball, so he picked up the ball and handed it to Johnny, patting his head to comfort him. The other players burst out laughing. Back on the field, the team was noticeably more relaxed. With calmer minds, they scored again and again, not only tying the game but even pulling ahead 9-7 in the end, closing out the season on a perfect note. Rod gave that meaningful game-winning ball to James as a keepsake, thank him for his company during this time, but some still refused to accept James. Johnny's father, Frank, believed James was distracting Rod from coaching. After all, they used to win almost every game with ease. Rod didn't respond. With the season over, the team entered the off-season. That meant James could no longer be with the players. He was back to wandering the streets, but Rod couldn't bear to see him return to how he used to be, so he tried to enroll James in school. That, however, proved much harder than getting him on the team. The principal had no objections, but when the school board members learned about James's condition, they flat out rejected the request. They wouldn't allow someone with a disability to mix with the other students, so Rod had to look elsewhere. The principal was puzzled. Why was he so invested in James? Rod didn't give a direct answer. Instead, he took James to the basketball court and set him up as an assistant coach for a friend's team. As long as there was a ball involved, James was happy. He did well with the basketball team, and the players welcomed him warmly. Seeing this, Rod finally felt at ease. On Christmas Eve, Rod invited James to the town square to celebrate and busied himself taking care of him. But this behavior upset his daughter. She didn't understand why her father gave so much of his time and energy to James. Whenever she wanted to talk to him, he was never around. Her words made Rod realize he had been neglecting his family. He wanted to explain, but first, he had to get James home. When he visited James's house, his mother asked Rod the same question. Why was he willing to give so much to James? Rod said he was just doing good deeds, but his mother didn't believe him. She was actually worried that, if Rod suddenly left one day, it might hurt James even more. And after spending this time with him, most of the townspeople had changed their views on James, and many gave him Christmas gifts. To return their kindness, early the next morning, James went door to door with gifts of his own, but a police officer thought he was stealing and stopped him. The sudden confrontation panicked James, and he tried to get away, but the officer roughly grabbed him and handcuffed him without giving him a chance to explain. He took James straight to the police station. James curled up in a corner, scared and crying. Fortunately, an older officer recognized him and let him go. He even warmly invited James to share a burger and watch a basketball game together. James smiled again. He was always so easily satisfied. Meanwhile, the officer who arrested him had to write a self-criticism. As a punishment, he was also required to go with James to deliver Christmas gifts. Around the same time, Rod brought good news. Because of his good behavior, the school had finally agreed to let James enroll. During the day, he attended classes. After school, he helped out with the basketball team. Life became fulfilling. Soon after, James was even made a hall monitor, helping students on and off the bus every day, and reminding others not to run in the halls. His natural innocence and joy touched everyone around him, but not everyone was willing to accept him. Johnny, the same player who had locked him in the shed before, came up with another mean idea. He tricked James into entering the girls' locker room, scaring the girls inside and making them scream. James ran away in panic, but Rod knew James well. He was sure someone had set him up. No matter how much he asked, James refused to name who did it, but it wasn't hard for Rod to figure out. It had to be Johnny. Furious, Rod pinned Johnny against the wall and suspended him for a month.
Why don't you tell your boy that I said thanks?
Radio didn't sell you out, son. There are plenty of other people willing to do that.
But regardless of what happened, the incident had already caused serious problems. The school board felt they could no longer keep James. And then, another blow came. That same night, James's mother suddenly passed away from a heart attack. By the time Rod arrived, the house was in disarray, and James was kneeling on the floor, devastated. Rod gently patted his shoulder, trying to offer some comfort. In James's heart, the man standing before him wasn't just Coach Rod. He was like a father. After James fell asleep, Rod took his daughter home, and finally revealed the secret he had buried for years. When he was young, he had dropped out of school. At 12, he worked as a paperboy in town. One day, while passing by a house, he saw a child about his age locked inside, the windows barred with barbed wire to stop him from escaping. Rod passed that house for 2 years, but in all that time, he did nothing. Then one day, the boy disappeared. He regretted it ever since. That memory became a shadow he carried with him. So when he met James, he poured everything into protecting him. After hearing his father's story, his daughter finally understood why he did what he did. The next day, the school board came to investigate again. An anonymous parent had reported James, still fixated on the locker room incident. Someone was determined to get rid of him. Rod tracked down Johnny's father, Frank. Unsurprisingly, this was Frank's revenge for Johnny's suspension, now openly hostile. If the school didn't expel James, he wouldn't let it go. A few days later, Johnny returned to school and found a radio and a note at his desk. On it was a weighty line, James's most sincere apology. He took all the blame on himself. That innocence and kindness awakened Johnny's conscience, and finally made him let go of his prejudice. Back on the field, Johnny played exceptionally well, scoring again and again, igniting the crowd. He ended with an impressive 32 points, and gained a pure friendship. His father watched, puzzled. Why would his son want to be friends with someone who only caused trouble? But the truth was, the one causing trouble all along was Frank himself. Using his influence, Frank pressured the school to force James out. The situation escalated. Rod began to feel powerless, even doubting himself for the first time. If he couldn't change anything, maybe he should never have helped James in the first place. Maybe giving him hope was a mistake, but his wife thought otherwise.
You can't believe that's been a mistake, you being with radio. You've been so great for each other.
Yeah, well, look where it's got us.
Where it got you was a school full of kids that love him.
Caring about someone is never a mistake. Encouraged by her, Rod gathered his courage and went to the parent meeting. Some welcomed him, others didn't. But Rod wasn't there to be confrontational. He just wanted to speak from the heart.
I know some of you don't know or don't care about all that radio's learned over these past few months. But truth is, we're not the ones been teaching radio. Radio's the one been teaching us. Because the way he treats us all the time is the way we wish we treated each other even part of the time.
Then he made a major announcement. He was stepping down as head coach, but he would still keep an eye on James, just in case. He wasn't resigning to force their hand. He wanted to make it up to his wife and daughter. For years, he had focused on his career, while neglecting what truly mattered. With that, Rod left the meeting, and the discussion that had been targeting James turned into criticism of Frank instead. Months later, James was awarded an honorary graduate title by the school. Everyone acknowledged how far he had come. The principal even announced on the spot, James could remain at Hannah High School for life as a staff member. In that moment, Rod was more emotional than if he'd won a national championship. This is a film based on a true story. Even into his 50s, James was still active on the field, becoming one of the most legendary figures in American football. And Rod, in his 70s, was inducted into the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. For 26 years, the two maintained a deep friendship. Without Rod's fatherly care, James might have lived his whole life in darkness. Rod's love was like sunlight, lighting James's path forward and filling his life with endless possibilities. And James, in turn, carried that love and shone it on everyone around him.